मीडिया वेव्स टीवी तो खबरां दा लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम दे विच आप सब दा स्वागत है।
Khabran Da Lekha Jokha, October 1st, 2024 has been sponsored by Hanif Litigation. Any criminal or regulatory law matters, contact lawyer Shahid Hanif at Hanif Litigation, 604-626-3144. Israel says Iran has fired missiles, warns residents to shelter in place. The Israeli military said Tuesday that Iran has fired missiles and it ordered residents to remain close to bomb shelters as air raid sirens sounded across the country. A series of window-shaking explosions were heard in Tel Aviv and near Jerusalem, though it was not immediately clear whether the sounds were from missiles landing or being intercepted by Israeli defenses or both. Israel and the United States have warned there would be severe consequences in the event of an attack on Israel from Iran, which backs the militant group Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israeli army spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said the country's air defense system was fully operational, detecting and intercepting threats. However, the defense is not hermetic, he said. Orders to shelter in place were sent to Israelis' mobile phones and announced on national television. Iranian media began posting videos that appeared to show missile launches at several sites across the country. However, the Iranian government did not immediately acknowledge what was happening. The air raid alerts in Israel came a day after Israel said it had begun limited ground operations against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Israeli airstrikes and artillery fire pounded southern Lebanese villages where people were ordered to evacuate, and Hezbollah militants responded by firing a barrage of rockets into Israel. There was no immediate word on casualties as fighting intensified and concerns of a wider regional war began. A senior White House official warned of severe consequences should Iran launch a ballistic missile against Israel. U.S. ships and aircraft are positioned in the region to assist Israel in the event of an attack from Iran. The official spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss intelligence. Hagari also warned of consequences if Iran fired missiles into Israel. He urged the public to stay close to sheltered areas. The Iranian strike could be widespread, he said. Iranian officials could not be immediately reached for comment. Iran launched an unprecedented direct attack on Israel in April, but few of its projectiles reached their targets. Many were shot down by a U.S.-led collision, while others apparently failed at launch or crashed in flight. While Hezbollah denied Israeli troops had entered Lebanon, the Israeli army announced it had also carried out dozens of ground raids into southern Lebanon, going back nearly a year. Israel released video footage purporting to show its soldiers operating in homes and tunnels where Hezbollah kept weapons. If true, it would be another humiliating blow for Iran-backed Hezbollah, the most powerful armed group in the Middle East. Hezbollah has been feeling from weeks of targeted strikes that killed its leader Hassan Nasrallah and several of his top commanders. On Tuesday morning, Israel warned people to evacuate to the north of the Awali River, some 60 kilometers 36 miles from the border, and much farther than the Litani River, which marks the northern edge of a UN-declared zone intended to serve as a buffer between Israel and Hezbollah after the 2006 war. The border region has largely emptied out over the past year as the two sides have traded fire. Both the scope of the evacuation warning raised questions as to how deep Israel plans to send its forces into Lebanon. As Israel airstrike hits a residential building near Beirut Tuesday, causing damage but with no immediate reports of casualties. The strike appeared to hit an apartment about 100 meters from the Iranian embassy. Anticipating more rocket attacks from Hezbollah, the Israeli army announced new restrictions on public gatherings and closed beaches in northern and central Israel. The military also said it was calling up thousands more reserve soldiers to serve on the northern border. Question raised over whether Israeli forces entered. An Associated Press reporter saw Israeli troops operating near the border in armored trucks, with helicopters circulating overhead, but could not confirm ground forces had crossed into Lebanon. Ahead of the Israeli announcement of an incursion, U.S. officials on Monday said Israel had described launching small ground raids inside Lebanon as it prepared for a wider operation. Neither the Lebanese army nor a UN peacekeeping force that patrols southern Lebanon have confirmed that Israeli forces entered. The UN force said a cross-border operation would be a violation of Lebanese sovereignty. Hezbollah spokesman Mohammed Afif dismissed what he said were false claims of an Israeli incursion. He said Hezbollah is ready for direct confrontation with enemy forces that dare to or try to enter Lebanon. Hagari claimed troops were conducting localized ground raids on Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon to ensure Israeli citizens could return to their homes in the north. We're not going to Beirut, he said. Israel has said it will continue to strike Hezbollah until it is safe for citizens to return. Hezbollah has promised to keep firing rockets into Israel until there is a ceasefire in Gaza. He said Israel carried out dozens of small raids inside Lebanon since October 8, when Hezbollah began firing rockets into Israel after the outbreak of the war in Gaza. Hagari said Israeli forces had crossed the border to collect information and destroy Hezbollah infrastructure, including tunnels and weapons. Israel has said Hezbollah was preparing its own October 7 style attack into Israel. It was immediately possible to confirm those claims. An Israeli military official said troops participating in the latest incursion were within walking distance of the border, focused on villages hundreds of yards from Israel. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity in line with military regulations, said there had been no clashes with Hezbollah fighters. The Israel ministry was accused of lying to media in 2021 when it released a statement implying ground troops had entered Gaza. The military played down the incident as a misunderstanding, but well-sourced military commentators in Israel said it was part of a ruse to lure Hamas into battle. Israel strikes more targets and Hezbollah fire rockets. The Israeli military official said Hezbollah had launched rockets at central Israel, setting off air raid sirens and wounding a man. Hezbollah said it fired salvos of a new kind of medium-range missile at the headquarters of two Israel intelligence agencies near Tel Aviv. The Israel military official said Hezbollah had also launched projectiles at Israeli communities near the border, targeting soldiers without wounding anyone. Hezbollah began firing rockets into northern Israel shortly after Hamas' October 7th attack into Israel ignited the war in Gaza. Israel has launched retaliatory airstrikes and the conflict has steadily escalated. In recent weeks, Israel has unleashed a punishing wave of airstrikes across large parts of Lebanon. Hagari said the UN Security Council resolution that ended the 2006 Israel-Hezbollah war had not been enforced, and that southern Lebanon was swarming with Hezbollah terrorists and weapons. That resolution called for Hezbollah to withdraw from the area between the border and the Litani River and for the Lebanese army and UN peacekeepers to patrol the region. Israel says those and other provisions were never enforced. Lebanon has long accused Israel of violating other terms of the resolution. Israeli officials says no plans to march on Beirut. The military statements indicated Israel might focus its ground operation on the narrow strip along the border rather than launching a larger invasion aimed at destroying Hezbollah as it has attempted in Gaza against Hamas. Hezbollah and Hamas are close allies backed by Iran, and each escalation has raised fears of a wider war in the Middle East that could draw in Iran and the United States, which has rushed military assets to the region in support of Israel. Israel strikes have killed over 1,000 people in Lebanon over the past 2 weeks, nearly a quarter of them women and children. According to the health ministry, hundreds of thousands have fled their homes. Hezbollah is well-trained militia believed to have tens of thousands of fighters and an arsenal of 150,000 rockets and missiles. The last round of fighting in 2006 ended in a stalemate, and both sides have spent the past 2 decades preparing for the next showdown. Recent airstrikes wiping out most of Hezbollah top leadership and the explosions of hundreds of pages and walkie-talkies belong to Hezbollah indicate Israel has infiltrated deep inside the group's upper echelons. The group's acting leader Naim Qassem said in a televised statement Monday that Hezbollah commanders killed in recent weeks have already been replaced. As the fighting intensifies, European countries have begun pulling their diplomats and citizens out of Lebanon.
ਇਹ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਨਿਰੰਤਰ ਇਜ਼ਰਾਈਲ ਤੇ ਹਮਾਸ ਦੇ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜੰਗ ਆ ਉਸਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਰੂਪ ਅਖਤਿਆਰ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਈਰਾਨ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗਿਰੋਹ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਹਮਾਇਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਮਲੇ ਨੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਏ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਆਮ ਲੋਕ ਜੋ ਹਨ ਨਾਗਰਿਕ ਜੋ ਹਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਭਾਰੀ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਵਰੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 7 ਅਕਤੂਬਰ ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਦਫਾ ਇਸ ਜੰਗ ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ। ਉਸੇ ਵਕਤ ਤੋਂ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੀ ਕਮੀ ਨਾ ਆਉਣ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਖਦਸ਼ਾ ਸੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਅਗਰ ਇਹ ਜੰਗ ਸਿਰਫ ਔਰ ਸਿਰਫ ਗਾਜ਼ਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਨਿਕਲ ਕੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਫੈਲਣੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਤਾਂ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵੱਡੀ ਮਾਤਰਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਣਗੇ। ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਸਾਰ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇਹੀ ਪ੍ਰਗਟਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਜ਼ਰਾਈਲ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹੁਣ ਲੈਬਨਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਥਲ ਸੈਨਾ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਥੇ ਛੁਪੇ ਹੋਏ ਗਿਰੋਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੱਢਣ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰਕਿਰਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਵੱਡੀ ਤੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਅਗਰ ਇਸ ਖੇਤਰੀ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਹਮੋ ਸਾਹਮਣੀ ਇਜ਼ਰਾਈਲ ਤੇ ਈਰਾਨ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਇਜ਼ਰਾਈਲ ਦੀ ਹਮਾਇਤ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਾਕੀ ਦਾ ਪੂਰੇ ਮੁਲਕ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਿੱਸੇ ਪਾਉਣਗੇ। ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਸ਼ਿਪਸ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਸ ਏਰੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਨ ਇਸ ਜੰਗ ਦੇ ਖੇਤਰੀ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਖੇਤਰੀ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਬੁਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਲਪੇਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈ ਜਾਣ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਸਾਰ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਤੱਖ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਉਣੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਹਨ।
NDP promised rapid transit for North Shore in latest campaign announcement. The BC NDP says if re-elected, it will bring rapid transit to the North Shore. It's just the latest announcement from the incumbent party as it looks to pick up votes in the upcoming provincial election. NDP candidate Bowen Ma, Susie Chand and Sarah Aftercar shared the details Tuesday morning, saying it will elevate congestion on the North Shore and provide critical connectivity for commuters. The NDP says the project will begin with a bus rapid transit line from West Vancouver to Burnaby. A new rapid transit line between Park Royal and Metrotown means that people will have more choices about how they get on and off and around the North Shore, said Ma, NDP candidate for North Vancouver Lonsdale. This new high efficiency service will help get people where they are going faster and sooner as we also drive forward with work on longer term expansion like fixed light rail or SkyTrain. A BRT differs from existing bus routes in the region in that it's entirely separated from traffic. The promise comes as the mayors of the city and district of North Vancouver and West Vancouver are sat together Tuesday morning with local businesses leaders hoping to push provincial candidates to make transit a top election issue. City of the North Vancouver Mayor Linda Buchanan says officials have worked hard to keep rapid transit for the North Shore a priority, but the system is now facing potential cuts. And without provincial government's funding, the transit system as a whole is under threat. We are sounding the alarm. North Shore residents, employers and workers have had enough of traffic congestion and overcrowding on buses, said Buchanan in an early morning statement. Officials say a recent Mayor's Council survey found 77% of the North Shore residents believe transit is an important election issue and a majority are concerned about possible cuts.
ਰੈਪਿਡ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਜ਼ਿਟ ਦੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ NDP ਦੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ 3 ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ, ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ 'ਤੇ ਨਾਰਥ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਦੇ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦ ਰਹੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਵਾਜਾਈ ਦੇ ਸਾਧਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਭੀੜ ਭੜੱਕਾ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਦੇਰ ਦੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ। ਹੁਣ ਤਿੰਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ MLA ਨੇ, ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਨਾਰਥ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਦੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਜ਼ਿਟ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੈਸਟ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਬਰਨਵੀ ਤੱਕ ਦੀਆਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਰੈਪਿਡ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਜ਼ਿਟ ਦੇ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ। ਕਿਹਾ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਉਮੀਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸੂਬਾਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਤਰਜੀਹ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਤਵੱਕੋ ਦੇਗੀ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਵੈਸਟ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਮੈਟਰੋ ਟਾਊਨ ਤੱਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਜ਼ਿਟ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਤੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਯਾਤਰੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਹੁੰਚਾ ਸਕੇਗੀ।
4 Indian nationals accused of killing Suri seek leader in court today. The 4 men accused of being involved in the killing of a prominent Sikh leader in Surrey are expected to make another court appearance today. Kamalpreet Singh, Karan Brar, Karanpreet Singh and Amandeep Singh face several charges, including first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in connection with the death of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Nijjar was shot and killed outside the Guru Nanak Sikh Gurdwara in June of 2023. The 45-year-old was a key figure in the push to create an independent Sikh state in India. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has implicated the Indian government in Nijjar's death, but New Delhi has denied any involvement.
ਭਾਈ ਨਿੱਜਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਤਲ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰ ਚਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੋਸ਼ੀ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਅੱਜ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੇਸ਼ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਇਹ ਚਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਚਾਰੇ ਦੋਸ਼ੀ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੂਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਤਲ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰ ਠਹਿਰਾਏ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਅੱਜ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੇਸ਼ੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਉਸ ਵਕਤ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦਾ ਹੱਥ ਹੋਣ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਸੀ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਤੋਂ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਨਾਈ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ।
Turkey prices are up in BC ahead of Thanksgiving. Less than 2 weeks before British Columbians gather for Thanksgiving, not only are turkey prices up compared to last year, but supply isn't what it used to be. Sylvain Chalabers, director of the Agri-Food Analytic Lab at Dalhousie University, says prices for whole turkey currently range from $1.65 to $2.80 a pound or higher in BC, which is among the most expensive in the country. That's kind of how boards have been planning for this fall, thinking customers will be looking for more deals and cheaper proteins, and one of them is pork, explained Charlebois. Due to this, Charlebois thinks farmers don't have as many whole birds available. Both in the US and Canada, farmers tend to plan months ahead. And of course, turkey demand is really tricky because a lot of it is concentrated into just a couple of months compared to chicken or pork, and you don't want to have too much turkey by the time you're done with the year. Going into the new year, it's a bit like dancing tango with the consumer. He adds turkey prices aren't expected to come down as we inch closer to Thanksgiving. Instead, he expects the opposite. As for Christmas, Chalabol stresses that what consumers do now will affect prices in December. If there's more inventory as we head towards the holidays, then perhaps we may see deals in a couple of months from now. That's the thing about food. You never know how consumers are going to react to prices, how they react to their financial reality. He says this year avian flu appears to have less of an effect on supplies, but is always hanging over the industry. You never know, an outbreak can happen any day and that could impact suppliers. That's why the avian flu is such a wild card, especially out west. We've seen poultry prices go up significantly as a result, and also feed costs are a big problem too. Chalbos points out that turkey and chicken prices are among the highest in BC compared to the rest of the country. While he's mainly talking about whole turkeys, prices are also rising for other cuts of the lean bird.
ਟਰਕੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਡੇਰੇ ਵਾਧੇ ਦਾ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਛੁੱਟੀਆਂ ਵਾਲੇ ਵੀਕਐਂਡਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਟਰਕੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਪਾਉਂਡ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ $1.15 ਦਾ ਫਰਕ ਹੈ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਵਕਤ ਦੀ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਔਰ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੋਰ ਵਾਧਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ ਪੂਰੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ BC ਸੂਬੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟਰਕੀ ਤੇ ਚਿਕਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਮੁਲਕ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮਹਿੰਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਕਾਰਨ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਏਵੀਅਨ ਫਲੂ ਵਰਗਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡਰ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਸਿਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਵਾਰ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਨਿਰਧਾਰਿਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ ਲੋਕੀ ਕਿਸ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਇੱਕ ਫੈਸਟੀਵਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਟਰਕੀ ਦੀ ਖਰੀਦੋ ਫਰੋਖਤ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਸ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦਾ ਝੁਕਾਅ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦਾ ਏਵੀਅਨ ਫਲੂ ਜਾਂ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਪੈਣ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਟਰਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਫਸਲ ਆ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਡਿਸਟਰੋਏ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਡੇਰਾ ਵਾਧਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਮਸ ਦੇ ਵਕਤ ਦੇ ਕੁਝ ਕੁ ਮਹੀਨਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫਸਲ ਹੈ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਫਾਰਮਰਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਟਰਕੀ ਵਾਲੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਕੋਈ ਬਹੁਤੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪਾਏਦਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਔਰ ਇਸੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਰਕ ਉਤਾਂਹ ਠਾਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ।
Shifting political allegiances, new Omni poll shows immigrants supporting Pierre Poilievre. When Mark Cravoso arrived in Canada from the Philippines in 2017, he thought it would be a matter of months before he could start work as a registered nurse. He ended up waiting 4 years to obtain his license, forcing him to take what he called survival jobs to get by. As the next federal election approaches, Cravoso, a first-time voter, shared why he will support the Conservative Party led by Pierre Poilievre. The federal Liberals should have focused their attention on the healthcare system, he told the news agencies. There was a lot of healthcare professionals like foreign-trained doctors and foreign-trained nurses, but they are not utilized properly. Like him, 7 in 10 newcomers say that they are motivated to vote and believe it is time for a change in government in Canada, according to a new poll commissioned by the Ledger exclusively for Omni News. The survey found 45% of immigrants have changed their political allegiances since moving to Canada, particularly those who say they intend to vote Conservative. Support for the Tories is stronger among newcomers who have been in Canada for 6 years or longer, but overall 44% of respondents said they would cast their ballot for the Conservative if elections were held today, as 18-point lead over the Liberals at 26%, while 19% would vote NDP. Newcomers to Canada tend to vote for the party in power at that time, said Manan Gupta, who moved to Ontario from India over 20 years ago. But when you look at those who have been here for longer, he said, they can't actually compare previous parties' governance and economic situations at that time. Jenny Yang moved to British Columbia from China 6 years ago, and while she told that she hasn't made up her mind yet on who to vote for, she expressed concerns about the government's handling of crucial files. Housing prices have been rising rapidly, she said, and the government hasn't come up with effective measures to control this problem. The Ledger poll found that dissatisfaction with the current government tops the list of reasons newcomers gave for changing their political allegiances, followed by poor immigration politics. However, a lack of clarity in the Conservatives' plan for immigration is the reason Filipino-Canadian Alan Ralph Basa is dissatisfied with the Tories. Their approach on immigration is just common sense. We deserve more than that. We need to know because immigration has become a very serious pivotal concern and issues in this country's election. Basa came to Canada in 2012, and in 2015 he voted for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper against Justin Trudeau. This time he will again vote for the incumbent, even if that means switching sides. However, regarding the political leaders, immigrants, particularly those in Canada for more than 6 years, would instead share a meal with Poilievre than Trudeau or NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. The Ledger poll found that while 28% of those surveyed do not know which federal leader they would invite to dinner, 26% would like to break bread with Poilievre, compared to just 2 in 10 would choose the current Prime Minister. Andrew Annas, Executive Vice President with Ledger, found the data somewhat surprising. The immigration population is picking up on many of the same concerns and sentiments that Canadians writ large are picking up on. And with immigrants making up a significant share of the population in key battleground ridings, the pollster says it will be very challenging for a political party to forsake the immigration vote in a general federal election and expect to do very well.
ਰਾਜਨੀਤਿਕ ਅਖਾੜੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੋਲ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਝੁਕਾਅ ਹੁਣ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਵਧੇਰੇ ਮਾਤਰਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੱਧ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। 40% ਤੋਂ ਉੱਪਰ ਲੋਕੀ 46% ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਕਿ ਅਗਰ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਟੋਰੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੂੰ ਚੁਣਨਗੇ। ਔਰ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਪਸੰਦੀਦਾ ਦਰ ਦੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ, ਅਲੱਗ-ਅਲੱਗ ਵਕਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਡਰਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰਗਟਾਏ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਤਜਰਬੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸੇ। ਔਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਪਤਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਫੈਡਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਮੁਖੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਖਾਣਾ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੋਗੇ, ਤਾਂ ਵਡੇਰੀ ਮਾਤਰਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੋਲੀਵਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਖਾਣਾ ਪਸੰਦ ਕੀਤਾ। ਦੂਸਰੇ ਨੰਬਰ 'ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਘੱਟ ਨੰਬਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪਸੰਦੀਦਾ ਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ। ਔਰ ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਬਦਲਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੱਦੇ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾਤਰ ਵੋਟ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਲਿਬਰਲਸ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਝੁਕਾਅ ਹੁਣ ਟੋਰੀਜ਼ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ, ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ। ਇਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਤਬਦੀਲੀ ਹੈ।
इसी के साथ हमें दीजिएगा इजाजत। खबरां दा लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम से until next time, goodbye and be safe.